video, I'm going to show you what are the things you need to consider before you start designing a dress. Hello, hi, I'm Bhargavi Raval and I am a fashion mentor. And today's video, I'm going to show you how to design dresses. You have to consider many things before you start designing the clothes. The most important thing is for whom you are designing. Now, again, it depends upon what is your position. So you could be a student, and if you're designing a dress, it could be a part of your collection. So you're designing a dress for your collection, or it could be part of your assignment, or you completed your designing and you have your own boutique and you have your own clientele. And even if you don't have a boutique, you have one-to-one clientele, you have your relatives, and you start designing in a very small scale. You have your friends and your relatives and you're designing for them. Or you could be working with a company, you could be a designer with a company and you're designing the whole collection for them, you're working on the press line, or it could be your own label. So very important thing is for whom you are designing. So once it is established that for whom you are designing, of course you have to understand who's your target audience. So if it's say for example, if you're designing for a company and they are into breath line, what is the range they are working on? Again, the season, is it fall winter or is it spring summer, because the color changes completely, the trend changes completely, the forecast changes completely. Or is it a casual wear or a formal wear? Now if a client comes to you, of course you're going to ask what is the occasion. Like, she might come for a trousseau, or it could be for a mehndi rasam, or it could be for a wedding. So you need to know for what occasion you are designing. So once you have decided that what collection you're working on, so if it's casual or it's formal, or it's evening gowns, or it's completely Indian traditional wear, you're working on saris, whatever. So once that is established, the most important thing before you start working on your sketches is your fabric. Now personally, I feel that up till and until you don't know what fabric you're going to work with, you really can't design. But that's that's my personal take, because I love to play with fabric. I design my clothes based on the fabric, because my fabric would be stiff, my fabric would be very soft. I love to play with my fabric. I'll put the fabric on my body form, I'll see how it's flowing, I'll understand the character of a fabric, and based on that I will start designing. Now of course it goes hand in hand. Before you start designing, you can always consider that this are the fabric I really would want to work with. Again, another thing what I would always advise my student is, please make it a point to go and have a weekly or at least once in a month, go to the market, check out what are the new fabrics, latest trends which are there, the cuts which are in. Do your research, do your forecast. As a designer, you need to know what is latest. So when you're designing the cuts and the silhouettes, that especially you need to know, because whatever said and done, if you are working on a press line or if you're working on a saleable product, it has to be according to the market, right? So it has to be variable. So you need to understand the silhouettes. Your silhouettes cannot go wrong. You have to work with the right silhouettes. And of course the latest trends, because whatever said and done, the mentality, the mass mentality is they want what is running in the market. Of course, as a designer you can always create new silhouettes. As a designer you can always create some nice different style, and you can establish your own name. You can establish your own stand. So that is also fine. But yes, fabric is very important. So once the fabric is decided, of course we need to understand the budget. Now if you're designing for a clientele, they would always give you, okay, I want this lehenga for 1 lakh, or my budget is only 50,000. Or if it's a prep, or if it's a very casual dress, the budget will be very less. Now depending upon that, you will change your design, your embroidery. There are many things which are considered according to the budget. Say for example, it's a very casual thing, it's for a small occasion. Of course then budget would be slightly less. And to be a successful designer, you need to cater to all the budgets. You need to have the knack of designing clothes with all the range. So once the fabric is established, you know that this is the fabric what I have thought about, these are the fabrics which I feel I want to work with. Once that is established, you start with your rough sketches. Now, please, before you start working on your final design and you freeze that this is what I want to do, experiment. Do your DDBs. DDBs are design development boards. So even if I have thought of, that okay, I have a basic idea that I'm going to design something like this. But before that also, I sit down and I sketch. I do rough sketches. Okay, once I start sketching, I might feel that, oh, I don't think the full sleeves is going to look good. I might just cut off the sleeves and I'll give her a deep cut. I might give her a sleeveless thingy, or might be once I sketch, I feel that the neckline is looking too loud. I might smoothen it up, or I can add few more pleats to it, and I can add few more cowls to it, or So once you start sketching, you can do all your permutation combination. You can just play with your rough sketches. Indeed, make as many rough sketches, and then because the initial this is what I tell all my students, that your initial 5 ideas are always your very cliche idea, and they are not thought about ideas. So it's only after your 6th and 7th sketch, then your brain starts working, and there's oiling done, and then the more creative ideas come. So do as many rough sketches as possible. So after going through all your rough sketches, you might like neckline of this, and then you might like sleeves of this, and then you pick things, and I like the silhouette of this, and then you sit and design the final sketch. So of course, before finalizing, you will always consider the client profile. So understanding the client, understanding her body type. If she's too skinny, you will not use a very softer fabric. You'll use more bulkier fabric, more voluminous fabric. If she's on a heavier side, you'll use those kind of cuts which is going to make her look slimmer or make her look taller. So yes, always consider the body type also before finalizing your sketch. So once the final sketch is established, then you start working on your tech pick. Now your tech pick is very, very important. So the most integral part of the tech pick is your technical drawing. Now, if you're getting your dresses stitched by a tailor, your technical drawing has to be perfect. Unfortunately, in India, we don't have trained masters, or there are very few tailors or masters who have taken a formal education. Uh, Most of the masters or the tailors which we have, which we deal with, are the ones which have not gone through any formal training. They have learned from their father, or that they don't have any formal knowledge. And the reason as a designer you need to know stitching is there is a difference between a designer cut and a tailored cut, right? So if you are very good in your construction, if you're very good in drafting your patterns, you will become a better designer, because your designs and your cuts and your fits are going to be different from what a tailor's fit is. They have not been trained, but you are trained. You have been trained in developing new cuts and new silhouettes, right? So I might have a video in future teaching you how to do a specification chart. But to give you a basic gist of what a specification chart is, it's more like technical drawing, wherein you write down each and every details. Uh, so if there is a piping, is it a 1/2 inch piping, or if it's a 1/4 inch piping? If there are 3 pleats, are they 2-inch pleat or they are 4-inch pleat? They are overlapping pleat or they are knife pleats? All the details are given in the specification chart. You write each and every measurement. So if you want your zipper, so if you want your side pocket, where exactly how many inches would be the side pocket. So it's very crucial that you jot down each and every measurements in your specification charts, so that your tailor does not make any blunder. And believe me, my experience 25 years, they do make blunders, right? Because they're not trained, they wouldn't know. But if you write down everything neatly, if you specify each and every measurement, there are no chances of going wrong. There are no chances of making any blunders. So very, very important, your spec chart. So once your final sketch is done, your spec chart is done, and then you start working on your embroidery. say for example, if your design has some embroidery, you start working on your khaka, that is your embroidery design, the design pattern. Then you get hold of your embroidery wala and you start working on the samples. So if you're working as a freelancer or if you're working as a designer with a company, you need to get your designs approved also, or many times with your client also, you need to get your samples approved. So your embroidery samples, you'll have to show it to your client, and they might have their own say to it. So again, it depends completely upon your rapport with your client. Like, I have many of my clients who would say, they will have blind faith on me, and they'll say, no, you do whatever, this is our budget, Bhargavi, I have to go for this wedding and this is the date, and then you design something. And they've been with me for so many years, they have faith in me. But there are times when they're new client, and there are some picky clients also. They would want to know everything, what fabric you're using and what embroidery you're doing, Bhargavi. So you deal with all of them. So embroidery established, samples are done, then you work on your toiles. Now your toiles are your rough design, they are your muslin cuts. So toiles are basically using muslin cloth, you make a rough garment. So now again, it depends completely upon your design. There are times when toiles are very, very important because the cuts are such, they are very weird cuts. You need to do draping on it, then toiles are done. Certain designs which would not require toile, and it's okay, especially if it's not a mass scale production and it's a simple dress, a casual dress, you can just go without a toile. But yeah, if it's a very expensive dress and there are different cuts to it, there are different drapes to it, you need to work on your toiles. That many times you work on completely on a body form, you do the draping, you don't do the construction on table, you don't do your drafts on table, you do it on a body form. So yeah, toiles are important. And then comes the actual stitching. And if you are a student and you're getting your dress stitched by a tailor, I would always advise you to please be there when the dress is done. That would be an amazing learning process for you. So you know how a dress is stitched, which part is stitched the first, and how shoulders are added first and then sleeves are done, or the darts are done, and how linings are attached, and how zip is done, and the whole process of stitching. As a designer, you need to know. So if you are a newcomer and you're not very good with your drafting and cutting, please make it a point that whenever you get your dresses stitched, be there, be with the tailor, see how he's cutting, how he's stitching. That also could be a good learning lesson for you. So once the stitching is done, then comes the finishing part of it. As a designer, you need to be very particular about your finishes, right? So once the finishing is done, then comes the trial. Please get the measurements correct, cross check all the measurements, cross check with your spec chart, cross check with the measurement of the client, and once that is done, then comes your trial. Always make it a point that your garment should be ready before the due date. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please drop a comment and let me know how it was. And do let me know what other videos you want me to make. Till then, bye.